I have this problem recently of messing up the intro. Normally we're off screen and it does the big thing and then the music hits and it starts to fade and we come in and it's this cool thing and I keep messing it up. So, hey, non-revs getting the same treatment as basketball and football. So
what did Paul set this up?
Well, that's one of the beauties of this kind of show is that Paul's not here. So we have to deal with Paul. We get to celebrate the non-revs in all their glory without his negativity, right?
God bless him.
Yeah. And if you can't tell from the title, this is our 2024 Maryland Terps men's lacrosse preview. We're going to have a really cool guest, Eric Malever, and he has an interesting history, which we're going to get into him. He was, as a sophomore, right, a starter on that historic team. Even as a freshman, he played. He was in the rotation, and then he was injured last year and was expected to be one of the better players on the team, and maybe that's partially why they struggled, right? So we'll get into all that with him and expectations for this season. But I haven't met him before, but you have met him many times. Good guy, right? Like,
absolutely. One of the really cool things about, and we'll get a little more into this later. I don't know if it's just I'm more aware of it now. The Maryland lacrosse program, in terms of its family and its alumni, are the players, the families, the alumni are just awesome. And if you ever have a chance to go to a game, even just in College Park, not even a playoff game, but NCAA tournament as well, the families put on these huge tailgates, and the more the merrier. At first you're kind of like, really, can I go over there? And then everyone is so welcoming. And one of the cool things about a program like Maryland with its history, you go to this tailgate and there's previous All-Americans there from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, hanging out, just celebrating, just coming together, having fun. So the tailgates are legendary. And what I'm maybe a little more aware of now, when I started doing this a few years ago, it only seemed to me like that Maryland and their fans and families did these huge tailgates. And it seems like now, though, that the other schools, especially the other Big Ten schools, are starting to copy. I'm pretty sure that, Penn State and Ohio State, they had gatherings in the parking lots, but now all of a sudden they look like the Maryland families tailgate that they put on. Everything, it looks like they're all copying what Maryland's family is doing. So, a guy like Eric, he's a great guy, but everyone in the program, they all just seem like really good people, really nice people. Their families are phenomenal.
That makes me want to come out, because during the spring, I miss football so much, and I miss the tailgates and that whole culture and that environment.
Oh man,
I'm gonna come out.
We'll probably talk about Ajax Zapatello, today, but his father,
defender,
yeah, defenseman wearing the number 1 jersey. His father brings a huge RV, and I mean it's the epicenter of the tailgates. I'm sure people, the IMS people, the people who post on the boards, they can tell you, the people that go to the games, they can tell you how much fun it is. The championship tailgate in 2022 after the game, there's a tailgate before the game, and there's a tailgate after the game.
Right.
And I mean, it was unreal. And, SVP and they swing by, so,
Alex Zapatello, or do you mean the Ajax?
Yeah.
I was just going to try and spout some knowledge. It seemed like I knew what I was talking about. Ajax Zapatello, the 6'1" senior from Portland, Oregon. Is that who you're talking about?
Absolutely.
Ajax Zapatello. Now, the number 1 jersey is a big deal.
Yep.
What is it? The history of the number 1 jersey. Go ahead.
Well, it really took on more history in the early 2000s. People have been wearing that jersey number for, however long the program's been around, 100 plus years at this point. But starting around early 2000s, it seemed that the team captain would always wear that jersey. So there was this kind of, passing of that responsibility. And when Coach Tillman, joined the program, 13 seasons ago at this point, he really began to lean into that tradition. One of the things that Coach Tillman really did, a coach years ago, Dick Adele, an amazing lacrosse coach, who led Maryland all through the 80s and most of the 90s, or mid 90s or so. Just a phenomenal guy. And he was this coach who had embraced this Be the Best acronym that I think he actually inherited from a guy named Bud Beardmore, who was also a legendary coach in the 70s. And Coach Tillman really took that Be the Best as a real cultural touch point and started to really organize the whole program around Be the Best. So kind of everything they do, classroom, tailgates, but practice, everything is in support of this kind of defining culture about being the best. And that was something that Coach Tillman inherited, but he now chooses who wears that number 1 jersey. So every year around this time, there's this kind of waiting game, this guessing game and waiting game as to who Coach Tillman's going to name. And when you look at the people who've worn it, since 2000, it's all timers, right? Just legends.
I'm looking at the all-time list, the list of all-time seasons for Maryland lacrosse history. So in the early 2000s, that was Dave Cottle.
Yep.
And so it started kind of under him, and he
went again. People wore it, but this kind of conscious passing of the number 1, sort of like if Anthony Cowan, right? If the basketball program had started saying, all right, the guy every year, is going to wear Uno.
There's a similar thing in soccer with the number 10 jersey, yep. And then the other professional sports in the United States have similar things with retired jerseys.
Absolutely.
It's a very similar thing. So no one's ever going to wear 8 in Baltimore again for the Orioles.
Right.
Or maybe after Lamar either. Two 8s. But I think it's very similar, a similar kind of thing to that. That's really cool. But the whole tailgating thing, I'm doing that because I love the whole tailgate. You go to the game. The game is cool too, but the tailgating and the whole culture and environment surrounding college football and the pageantry and the history. And so with everything you're describing, it sounds like a miniaturized version of that, a burgeoning version of that. Let's do it, man. This is a way to supplement.
They also take it on. They take it on the road as well. So, you'll show up at Rutgers or at Penn State and there it is. They do not mess around. And really one of the coolest things though about it, and maybe because it is smaller, maybe because it's not football.
Yeah.
That it's really a true kind of group gathering. It becomes one big tailgate together where everyone is there together and everyone's going from car to car and talking. And so it's just a fun environment. And the families, the players, after the game, the players come and everyone's just so welcoming. And I know people that have wondered about that, like, oh, can I just go to the tailgate? And then they go to the tailgate and you're like, I didn't bring anything. And people are like, who cares? Come on in.
That's great.
Great.
Speaking of road games, that's a perfect segue into this year's schedule.
Yep.
Look at this. Look at this
brutal. It is a brutal schedule though, Larry.
Yeah, look at this. They begin, for people just listening, I just popped the schedule up on the screen. They begin at Richmond, which is not an easy game, right?
Nope. Well, they're preseason 20th in the country.
There you go. And then they host Loyola
receiving votes in the preseason poll.
Then they go to Syracuse, which
ranked.
Syracuse, one of the legendary. Then they host Princeton, also a historic program. Then they go to South Bend to play Notre Dame. They host Brown. Is that the easiest one?
Brown might be on paper their easiest game, but Brown's one of those kind of funky
teams. They're not bad, right?
No, and Brown's got a goalie, a big kid, big goalie, the people's goalie. They kind of joke around about it.
Okay.
Who is like a theft, like he can steal games. And Brown plays this really up-tempo style that you don't get in a lot of other places. So Brown can get you sped up and into these crazy, 21-20 kinds of games.
Yeah.
And so they always have a puncher's chance because of that.
And then the final non-conference game, they're hosting Virginia. That's seven tough teams.
Preseason top 3.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be weird for them to get out of that 4-3, or even 3-4. Like,
yeah, it's a schedule, man. So
you're hoping for 5-2. I mean, 6-1 would be amazing.
I mean, the expectation, especially at a place like Maryland, is you're going through that undefeated. I mean, like,
they're not going through that undefeated. Come on,
they may not, but they've done it in the past, and that's the thing. You can never count out a John Tillman coached team. Like the game up at Syracuse will be kind of interesting. Syracuse had a very, very good freshman recruiting class last year. Consensus top, freshman last year, a guy named Joey Spallina. They are loaded on offense. You're up there in the Carrier Dome, which is a great place to watch a game. That game is going to be tough. They were up there during the national championship season, the 2022 season. That game was the third or fourth game of the season, and it felt like a Final Four game. It was physical. It was hotly contested.
Yeah,
you get great crowds there. So that's one you look at and you go, wow, on the road up in Syracuse, a little different. Loyola last year,
Maryland lost to Loyola.
Pummeled Maryland last year. I mean, that game was not close. So that'll be an interesting
schedule, tough non-conference, and we'll get into the rest of the schedule. I was going to go through the whole thing, but our guest has joined us. We're going to bring him on right now. After we talk to Eric Malever, we'll go through the rest of the schedule. We're going to add him to the show right now. Eric, can you hear us?
Yes. How's it going? Thanks.
Good. How are you? Yeah, we're so happy to have you on board. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Eric, we actually got a little delayed in our own conversation because we were talking about the tailgate before and after Maryland lacrosse games.
Oh, it's some serious tailgating. Being from the South down in Atlanta, I've seen all the SEC, Florida, Georgia, Auburn, Alabama tailgates, and it's right up there with those Southeastern Conference football tailgates. So
I only alluded to the 2022 national title post game tailgate, but that was a lot of fun.
That was one of the highlights of my life so far, for sure.
Eric, you were under 21 at the time, weren't you?
I was.
You weren't really enjoying it, were you?
I was respectfully enjoying it.
Okay, he was observing, right?
You were observing,
just watching what was going
on. Eric, you're coming off an injury. You lost your entire season last year. How's the recovery from that going?
It's been great. We have the best trainers, the best staff, supporting staff around. They've been so great to me the last 15 months now. I can't believe it's been already 15 months. I feel really good. I don't even think about my knee really much anymore on the field. Still getting my PTs in, but I'm feeling really good, and I'm looking forward to playing again. It's been a long time.
What do you think is different about you now, pre-injury to post-injury? Like, yes, you're older, right? But having gone through that experience, what's different about you? I mean, look, I think even physically now, there's probably the amount of intense rehab you did probably also changed you. So before and after, what are you like?
Yeah. So I'd say, on the field, I mean, I definitely feel a lot stronger in my cuts and my legs. All that rehab, you're working on plyometrics and strengthening and speed. So I really feel good and stronger in my legs and confident. When you're sitting there for over a year watching and observing, you really can learn a lot. You almost become like a second coach, and you see the game in a different point of view. I think that really helped me, just being able to, number one, watch and learn and see different things going on from the sideline. But also, I got a whole year to shoot on different goalies, see their tendencies, work on my outside shooting, my inside shooting. So I think just all around, it allowed me to mature and grow up. And, little things like, we're going to have some tight games this year, like being able to go, oh, we're down 2 goals, but you know what? We're in this game, and, having that level mind. And I think having the ACL injury, you kind of put into perspective, like when you get to play a lacrosse game and you're on 2 feet, it's a great day to play lacrosse. So, always having that like positive mindset and trying to keep the team on track when things aren't going our way, because I know we do have a very tough schedule.
And last year was a different kind of year for you. You've had, in fact, 3 really distinct types of seasons in Maryland. Your freshman year, you worked your way into the rotation on a good team. Then your sophomore year, you were a starter on one of the best teams in the history of lacrosse. Last year, you obviously had the injury on a team that struggled. Maybe those things are related, by the way. Now you're coming up to your fourth season. What are you expecting out of this fourth season, having all those three very distinct things in the past? What are you expecting?
When you look around college lacrosse, you see a lot of teams that have a lot of fifth years, older guys, a lot of transfers. I personally think, we have an experienced team. We have a lot of guys that stepped up into new roles last year and played in spots that they've really never played before. I thought that was a great thing. And, we have some older guys on our team. We have a good mix of younger guys too. But I think that, it'll be good to, an extra year under our belt, and we'll be able to gel and connect. And this preseason's been awesome doing so.
I was actually doing a little bit of math last night, which sometimes can be dangerous, right? But if I did my math right, the amount of scoring that Maryland lost from last year to this year is exactly replaced by the number of points you scored in 2022. So kind of theoretically, at least on the offensive end, right, the team is literally kind of coming back with all the scoring that they need, now the experience, right? Spanos gets a year older, Whittier gets a year older. One of your Atlanta crew kind of running mates, Ryan Syracuse, really, really caught a groove, right? He really seemed to really figure out where his niche was. Such an explosive player, right? So you guys bring all this back, plus the experience. But is that what excites you the most about this team? Is there something else about this team that you look at and you're just like, man, this team is really cool because of this?
I think that I'm most looking forward to, it's a brand new year. Last year is in the past, and we do have that chip on our shoulder losing the first round to Army, which helps motivate us every day in practice. But it's a cool mix of guys that, some have experienced, like in my class, some long playoff runs, 2 championship appearances in their first 2 years, and some younger guys that, didn't experience that, but had some pivotal roles as young players on a young team last year, and got some great experience. So I think I'm just looking forward to a new 2024 year with, bringing a lot of talent back, and we're a hungry team, and, a lot of flashy teams out there they're talking about, and they're not really talking about us. And we love it that way. Like we'll fly under the radar and we'll play Maryland lacrosse, and we'll do what we got to do. And yeah, we'll be ready to go.
Eric, you were a basketball player growing up, we heard about, and you ended up deciding on lacrosse. Is it because you just felt like you had just a better future in lacrosse? Is it because you like the sport better, or what? What was the decision there?
I think when I was younger and playing basketball definitely helped me grow as a lacrosse player. I played growing up. My dad would coach me. It was awesome. I loved basketball and still follow basketball, play when I get the chance. Been tough the last year, but
can you shoot 3-pointers, by the way?
Not at all. I am.
Oh, well, never mind.
You'd fit right in.
Never mind. Continue, please.
No. So, I played point guard when I was growing up, and I was a good passer, good facilitator, but I could not shoot the ball. But, lacrosse and basketball have a lot of correlation to it that, most people don't even realize that could be one of the most similar sports to lacrosse, just because of positions and having to see the field. So I think I never really had a future with basketball. Like I don't know if I could have played anywhere, but I think it definitely helped me grow as a lacrosse player.
I don't know if you can see Larry's, little tagline under his name, but he's making a statement here. He's making a strong statement about his future Maryland fandom.
People are going to hear this and see this like not the day we're recording it. We're recording it the day after the Maryland Northwestern game. So I'm a little bitter. My tagline says lacrosse is greater than basketball, just so you know. There you go.
Well,
all right,
continue. I think gotta give Coach Willard a couple years. I think we had some good wins in the last week or so. But it'll take a couple years with the new coach and new staff. But we always seem to figure it out. So I'm looking forward to these years to come for sure for basketball.
So
Go ahead, Reels. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I
Sorry.
was just saying, like, so, but I just had to make sure you saw that because I saw it when we got on and I busted out laughing. But so back to that point guard mentality, and for people who get a chance to watch you play, you definitely see that background, right? For people who haven't had a chance to watch Eric play, Eric plays behind the goal a lot, so that tends to be a place where you can really kind of dissect a field and draw slides and dish. So that transferability is clearly evident watching you play lacrosse, or maybe that's what made you a better basketball player, right? You never know.
I think basketball definitely helped with lacrosse for sure.
Instead of the
I'm gonna
other
have to say something. I'm gonna have to ask your dad about why he was such a bad basketball coach. I'm gonna be like, what's going on?
Can't teach someone how to shoot if they just can't shoot.
Shout out to Eric's parents, Greg and Carla. They're awesome people. But I want to stick on this point guard kind of mentality. And I'd asked you this before, and I think it's kind of fascinating, for anyone listening and watching the podcast here. I was like, man, Eric, I can never tell. Are you right-handed or left-handed? I don't know if you remember that. I actually asked you. I was like, is your dominant hand your left hand? And you were like, what was your answer?
So I started playing lacrosse righty. Although I do kick a ball lefty, I shoot basketball lefty, I throw lefty, I golf righty, I write righty. So I am a true ambidextrous, which just happens to be great for the sport that I chose to play and the position behind the goal. A lot of X is you got to have two hands, so it just happened to work out like that.
I had a baseball dad, and I'm right-handed with most things. When I was young, he made me bat left-handed so that I would swing left-handed. So now, very simple. When I play lacrosse, which I haven't in decades since I was very young, growing up in Baltimore, I play that lefty, hockey lefty, chopping an axe, any kind of swinging I do lefty as well. So I'm kind of similar with that. One thing I wanted to ask you about is Coach Tillman. We had him on last year when we did our preview show last year. We had a great time with him. I just wanted to ask from your perspective, how do you feel about him as a coach and playing under him?
He's the easiest coach to play for, obviously biased, but
right.
He's such a player's coach. He's not a yeller. He really lets us play offensively, very free flowing, and, he'll get on us every once in a while, but he's such a great coach in the fact that he lets us play and lets us do our thing. And a lot of constructive criticism, and, guys take his feedback very well because, he knows what he's doing, and he's such a great guy and great coach. So it's been awesome playing under him the last 4 years. And, when I wasn't playing last year because of my knee, he was so great to me, and I'm very grateful for him.
Well, I want to fill in a little more detail on that because I think you've had a real interesting kind of perspective. So you mentioned when you first joined on, you're coming out of Atlanta, what most people would consider a not traditional kind of lacrosse kind of hotbed. You're like a consensus top 5 national recruit. So kind of 2 questions, right? When you're a top 5 national recruit in any sport, what's that like, right? Like, what is it like being recruited at that level? So that's kind of the first part. And the second part, what's it like being recruited by John Tillman?
I'll be honest, like coming out of high school, it is cool seeing that your name is highly recruited. That's honestly, but however, once everyone gets to college, and I kind of knew this all along, is that it doesn't matter what you were ranked. Like, you got to earn a spot in college. No one cares about rankings. Rankings go away once you get to college. So, yes, it is cool for these high schoolers to see their name being ranked, and it's a nice milestone that from there you can continue to work from. But it really doesn't mean much in a sense that everybody is the same in college, and you have to earn that spot. And then your part 2 to your question, being recruited by Tillman, is that right?
Yeah.
It was awesome being recruited by him. I mean, he it was a while ago. I was 14 years old because of the rule change, which is like 8 years ago, which is crazy. But I mean, he was such a great guy. I was instantly attached to him, and the culture and the brand that he has built the last 15 years. And this university has been awesome for me. I committed here because of a couple of things. One, Coach Tillman was a huge factor, maybe the biggest. Two, academically, it fit me very well. Big school, close to DC, close to Bethesda, Baltimore, which is I really like. It's in a good area. The culture is just, I always heard of how great it was from guys like Mac Pons and, when Rambo and Heacock would come down to the South and they would tell me, and it lived up to the hype. All these guys are great guys. They're my best friends for life, and our locker room is tight. And, it's just great that everything that I was told when I was being recruited here by Coach Tillman, it was, and it's lived up to the hype.
Who else did you consider anyone else? So again, people listening or watching, you have a real strong connection with a former Syracuse player, right? Who started your club team down in the Atlanta area. Did you consider anyone else?
Yeah. I mean, when I committed, it was before they changed the rule to being junior year, September 1st. So, it was way different back then. I didn't really have a favorite team. I took visits when I was, again, 14 that summer, July, to Maryland, UNC. We went to Hopkins a little bit. I was talking to Syracuse, some other schools, but I really, when I made my decision, I never really looked back. It was been the greatest decision I've made. So
yeah, Larry, isn't it crazy to think though, 14-year-olds taking, because that was when you could sign, you could verbally commit like as like an 8th or 9th grader, right? So like, isn't that wild to think about?
I mean, I always, did we lose Eric?
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, there he is. He's coming back. Yeah, I always compare, my son does musical theater, and he was ranked, if you will, coming out of high school, and he did the same thing at 14. So that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
we were going all over the place too. So
it's really good that they changed that rule, because looking back, I don't know how me as a 14-year-old could make a decision on where I wanted to go to college when I hadn't even stepped foot in high school yet. So I'm definitely glad they made that choice and let these kids develop and go to high school.
Yeah, one of Eric's teammates, a guy named Eric Spenos, was I believe he was the last like 8th grader essentially to commit to a program that they kind of honored before they changed the rules. And he's a redshirt sophomore now?
Yeah, and what's funny is when he committed here, he was like 6 feet tall, and when he got here, he was 6'4", 6'5". So it's crazy how things can change when you hadn't even hit puberty at the age of 14. So
yeah, that's wild. Larry just said that he lost power, and so he's like, I don't know when I'm gonna come back. What Larry normally does, he normally does he asks a couple questions, but I don't have his questions. He normally has like a little fill in the blank thing. Like one of them, if I remember what he asked, one of the questions he was going to ask you was like, what's your favorite animal? He was going to ask you like a series of those kinds of questions, but I don't do this. But one thing that he will do is he'll want me to do this, so I can do it. He's going to ask you to give us geez, there you go. He's going to ask you to do like the old bumper, so you can say, hi, this is Eric Malever, and you're listening to IMS Sports.
Okay. You want me to do that?
Sure, do it.
Okay. Wait, IMS Sports?
Yep, IMS Sports.
Hi, I'm Eric Malever, and you're listening to IMS Sports.
There you go, man. Well, look, he said I just have to end it now. Like, what am I going to do?
Should we? No,
we're still recording. We're good. People get to listen to us do this later. But no, man, thank you. I want to thank you so much for taking time. Really excited. This is the first time we've done a preseason lacrosse preview at IMS here at Inside Maryland Sports. And it's always part of my thing. I'm always like, the whole grow the game. And like you were saying, lacrosse and basketball are such complementary sports, and Maryland has such a huge basketball fan base. So I'm always trying to get more basketball fans to start watching more lacrosse games. So this was the first time Larry said, hey, do you want to do a lacrosse preview? And I was like, absolutely. So very happy and very thankful that you came on and you spent some time with us. And can't wait. You guys have a scrimmage coming up this weekend against Duke. That should be fun, right?
Yeah, looking forward to it for sure.
Except the temperature is not looking so great, huh?
Yeah, I think we're trying to figure that all out, but some snow has changed our schedule a little bit for sure.
And then the following weekend, you guys get a scrimmage against Georgetown, I think, right?
Georgetown.
And then down at Richmond to start it.
Yep. It's coming up
Can't
quick.
wait, man. Can't wait. Looking forward to seeing you back out there, man. Looking forward to seeing seeing you at the tailgate afterwards, man.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on here, and look forward to see you soon.
All right, man. Take care, Eric. Take
You
care,
too.
buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, well, I'm back. I don't know what happened. I was like, did I not pay my bill? But we're on auto pay. So what happened? I don't know. I lost power for about 10 minutes. And thankfully, we got through the bulk of the interview with Eric. I had a fill in the blank for him, which I was really excited about. One of them was if you were a FOGO, your winning percentage would be. I wanted to hear what he said for that.
And you'll see, I was like, man, Larry has a whole bunch of fill in the blanks. And I'm like, but the only one I remember was him asking something about like, what kind of animals do you like or something?
I said his favorite kind of pet was one. I had what kind of the worst trouble you got in when you were a kid. The greatest player in the history of lacrosse.
Yeah.
It's standard stuff. Anyway, whatever.
We wrapped up, not too long after, and you'll see on there, they scrimmage Duke this weekend. I know we're recording this now for later, but they'll be playing Duke, and looks like they're going to move that one indoors. And unfortunately, when they move it indoors to the Jones Hill House, they don't let anyone in except for family.
Oh.
And so I was like, "Can you let me in?" And they're like, "We don't let media in." I'm like, "Man, when did I become media?"
Yeah, you're media.
And so it looks like they're going to move that indoors because the high temp on Saturday down there is supposed to be 20 degrees, and it's a morning scrimmage, and they're calling for snow. So,
well, yeah,
who knows? Maybe they bump it to Sunday, but and then the following weekend they scrimmage Georgetown, and so if you want to drop back into the schedule here, we can keep kind of going through, because when you look at their total schedule, 12 regular season games, 9 teams are ranked in the preseason USILA.
Now, here's the Big Ten schedule. Let me just read that out for the people who aren't watching here, listening on the pod. They play at Michigan, then at Penn State, home against Ohio State, home against Rutgers, and they finish at Johns Hopkins.
Yeah. I mean, it's a schedule, so if you count Loyola's receiving votes in the preseason poll, you got 10 of the 12 teams on their schedule are preseason ranked or receiving votes, right? Top 25 type teams, because they only do top 20 for the preseason poll. So you're talking just 10 of the 12 teams. Then, Ohio State and Brown, those are your 2 unranked teams on your schedule.
And they're decent programs.
Yeah, I mean, those are not exactly easy games.
Well, there's only like 30 teams in lacrosse,
so 75 or so. Come 75. On.
Hey, we'll get into this after this. Every year when we do this, well, this is our second year, but I've talked to you many times about the growth of the game. I'm going to ask you that about that at the end.
Oh, so and for the audience, I've got a little quiz, Larry.
Yeah, we're going to do that too. Okay, so tough preseason schedule. I'm showing that again. Richmond, Loyola, Syracuse, Princeton, Notre Dame, Brown, Virginia. Then they get the 5 Big Ten schools: Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, Rutgers, Johns Hopkins. 3 potential games in the Big Ten tournament, and then potentially 4 games in the NCAAs if they don't get a bye and then they make the final weekend, or it could be 3 if they get the bye and make the final weekend, and hopefully they do get to the final weekend and they get those last couple games. It could be 7 plus, could be 19 games total. That'd be fun.
Would be. I hope we see it.
What is before we move on from this, as the expert on Maryland lacrosse, what is your prediction for the team this season?
I think this is absolutely a Final Four team, for sure.
Okay.
I mentioned, when we were talking to Eric, they lost 48 total points from last season. Eric comes back. He scored 48 points his sophomore season. So theoretically, you're talking about a team that literally is
returns everything.
Returning everything plus that year of experience. So, the question marks on this team, one is going to be now who's the third defenseman. So they graduated Brett Makar. He was the All-American, multi-year All-American defenseman, first defenseman to wear number 1. He graduates, playing in the PLL, in the Premier Lacrosse League now. They lose him. So who's going to be that third full-time defender? So we got a little bit of a preview. We kind of can guess a little bit about that. So you got Ajax Zapatella coming back as your top defenseman. And he is probably the best defenseman. I don't even think probably. If you want to watch someone play defense and almost always have perfect footwork, he is phenomenal to watch. How he approaches ball carriers, how he runs with ball carriers. He does all the fundamental things. His stick is always in the opposing attackman's gloves. That's something that attackmen hate. They hate having a stick always on their hands. And he is fast enough and athletic enough that he's really hard to just run by, but he also is so agile that when you get guys changing directions, he's always with them. Then you got a guy, Colin Burles. He started last year. He's coming back, right? The Burles family is legendary at Maryland, kind of a multi-generational lacrosse family here at Maryland. So that third defenseman now is probably going to be a guy named Will Schaller, top 10 kind of national recruit, 5-star recruit. He came in when Ajax broke his hand last year, and missed the last, all the playoffs, Big Ten and NCAA playoffs. It's probably going to be your third defenseman. Might get a guy named AJ Larkin. He might step in. They brought in a couple of transfers through the portal. 3 guys from Vermont, close defenseman, a long stick midfielder, and a short stick defensive midfielder. So they bring those guys in to bolster depth. And then you got goal, Logan McNaney, most outstanding player of the 2022 NCAA tournament, tears his ACL. Again, second game of the season against Loyola last year. He's back. I don't know if he's going to start the season. They might do what they did last year or 2 years ago with a midfielder named Alex Smith. He could have come back the first week, but they waited until 3-4 games into the season before they brought him back full time. Wouldn't surprise me if they did that with Logan. If he doesn't start out in goal, then you go to Brian Rupel, who played the whole season as a true freshman last year, including that phenomenal 3-save sequence against UVA down in Charlottesville. So they're going to be pretty good in goal. They're going to be.
Who's the Fogo?
Luke Weirman. He's back
again.
He's back. Finishing. This will be his last season. By the time he leaves, he's probably going to break the last 2 records he could break: all-time ground balls and all-time face-off wins. He's probably going to break that ground ball record probably week 1.
There's a really high percentage. He's one of the best in the country, right?
Plus 60 all the time. And but not only is he good at facing off, he's a threat to score. Triggers their transition.
Who's on their rope unit?
Well, this is, you love it. You see, you're learning. You learned from last year. This is where one of those transfers from Vermont's going to feature in. They're going to bring back, we know they're bringing back to Eric Kohler and Nick Red. They're both coming back. Both, Eric Kohler is a freshman, was one of the regular rotation guys. Nick Red was phenomenal last year. He's going to be phenomenal. There's rumors Dante Trader may come back. He may come back. There's rumors. No one really knows. Apparently he's taken a couple weeks. But if he doesn't, now you're looking at a guy named Josh Kaufman, who is coming off of 2 consecutive ACL tears. He would have been a starting short stick midfielder the national championship year and the year before easily. But 2 ACL tears.
Tough to come back from that.
It is. But you're talking about an experienced guy. If he physically holds up, you basically have an All-American caliber short stick defender already.
So they have All-Americans everywhere.
They do. And then they're bringing in this guy, Sharkey, if I recall his last name correctly, from UVM, multi-year starter at short stick. But they've also got some young guys. A guy named George Stamos came in last year. He's a redshirt freshman now this year. Played long stick defense in high school. He was an all-conference wide receiver athlete in Northern Virginia, playing football. Phenomenal athlete. They put a short stick in his hand. So players like that might come up. A guy named Jordy Holmes got a lot of experience last year. A guy named Alex Wicks plays on the face-off wings a lot. So they've got depth at short stick. I mean, this is a team. They've got depth pretty much everywhere.
They can do it.
They can.
So what's your prediction? You said they're following.
I think they're championship bound. I think they're going to be playing.
They're
on
going to win it.
Memorial Day.
They're going to win it. Go on record. Let's
look,
go.
If,
this is what I make Jeff do, and Jeff hates me. But go ahead. I'm making you do it.
If past is prologue, right? The last time Maryland was in a situation like this, chip on their shoulder, getting bounced earlier than people thought. And Eric said something that's really interesting, and some of the national lacrosse media have also noted this. Seems like Maryland's flying under the radar. For some reason, people are thinking, you got these ACC schools, they're going to be legit. And no one's really talking about Maryland. I think they win it. I'll go on record. They're definitely making the Final Four. I think they've got the depth. Their offensive depth is unreal. And
well, you got more balls than Jeff. There you go.
You
actually made a prediction.
I mean, look, you got who do I think they're going to play? I think it's really hard to repeat. I don't think Notre Dame's going to repeat. Too hard to do that. But I think Duke oftentimes they've got so much talent, but it seems in big games they shrink. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Maryland UVA rematch in the title game. Would not be surprised.
You will be very happy to know that when we were speaking with Eric, he was talking about being ambidextrous and how good it was when you're playing X. And I was like, I know what that is. I know what that is.
Look, man, you are no longer.
Getting there.
You're no longer a lacrosse curious.
I'm throwing out Fogo. I'm throwing out rope unit. I'm throwing out X. I got all kinds of stuff.
Larry, you go to one tailgate, go to that UVA game, right? You're talking.
That's the end of the year.
It's their last. It's their last.
Yeah.
You're probably going to see
cold.
You're probably going to see a matchup of two top 5 teams.
Yeah, Brown. That's looking like it because March 16th, it's starting to warm up a little bit.
Yep.
I don't want to be out in like 30 degrees or 40 degrees.
But if we go to the Big Ten, so they're opening.
They have Ohio State and Rutgers April 6th and 13th.
Yeah,
those might be good too.
Yeah, Rutgers is always an interesting team.
Also depends on. I'm going to be visiting my son 3 times this semester, so have to figure that out too. Okay,
come to any of them.
I'm going to come
any of the games.
I'll figure out one that I can get to.
The families are going to welcome you. They're going to, because they're going to watch. They're going to watch and listen to this. They're going to know you. They're going to see you, and they're going to be like, Larry, get over here.
Yeah,
you might be doing another keg stand, Larry.
People say stuff, and they're like, do this, and I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. It just happened on the message board. Hoagie said, I don't even remember what thread it was. Some kind of ridiculous prediction, and Hoagie said, but if they do it, will you do the dance from I don't remember the show, some show.
Wasn't it the Carlton from Fresh Prince?
No, it wasn't that. It was a dance from some show, starts with the S, and I was like, I'm not even sure what that is, but yeah, I'll do it. Whatever.
Well, Final Four this year is in Philadelphia. It's at the Link.
That's not too far. When is that? Wait, look and see the dates right now.
Memorial Day weekend.
May 25th, 27th. Again, it depends on what I've got going on, but if they're there, and I'm free, which is the bigger if. Okay. We are going to end the show with one of the segments, but this time you're going to run it like you did last year. I don't know what do you got? Trivia or what is it?
I got trivia.
Okay. All right.
5 questions. 5 questions. Maybe maybe a backup.
Okay. Well, we'll see how I do, but mostly this is for the viewers.
You got to put that in air quote for the viewers?
Yeah. Viewers and listeners. We'll see if I can get. We're doing lacrosse trivia here. Here we go. All right, let's go.
I think you actually might get some of these.
Okay. All right, let's go.
So I'm doing full on trivia, right?
All right. I won't look at my history here.
Number one.
Yeah.
First question. Joe Tsai, who's a Yale alum and former lacrosse player, played 4 years at Yale, co-founded which Chinese company that is often thought of as China's Amazon?
I don't know.
I mean, that was a pregnant pause right there, Larry.
I don't know. I was trying to think. This is like not even really lacrosse related, except that
he
played lacrosse.
He also co-owns actually National Lacrosse League.
If it's China, then it's got to be TikTok.
Alibaba.
Okay.
He was co-founder of Alibaba.
I don't even know what that is. So there you go.
Well, it's essentially China's Amazon. He ons the Brooklyn Nets, and he owns the New York Liberty in the WNBA and
more things that I don't know about.
Well, you know the Brooklyn Nets.
I know of them.
Yeah.
I know of the. I couldn't name a single. Wasn't Kevin Durant was on the Nets and now he's not?
Yeah, I don't even know where he is at this point. He moves around chase. I think he's in Phoenix.
I don't either.
Number two.
0 for 1.
Number two.
That doesn't. I need the backup because that's not a lacrosse question.
But it kind of is.
Not really. All right. Here we go. Let's go.
Number
two.
Which two recent Tewaaraton winners have yet to play professional lacrosse because they have been playing other professional sports? Can you name the two?
Well, Jared Bernhardt.
There you go. There's one.
Because he played football.
Played in the NFL. Although now he retired and he's actually back on staff. He's on the sidelines now in College Park.
I got one. I'm really proud of that. I'm trying to think.
I'll give you a hint. After he won the Tewaaraton, played basketball for a year at Northwestern. Hopped on in the Golden State franchise. Been up and down to their NBA G League. Brother plays at UConn, I believe now.
I don't know.
Pat Spencer.
Okay.
Look,
1 out of 2. I got a half.
You're 0.5 out of 2.
0.5 out of 2.
All right, I think
25% is not bad for me. All right.
I think you're going to get this one though. All right.
Okay.
Which NFL Hall of Famer and member of the NFL's 100th anniversary team is also considered one of the greatest college lacrosse players?
Jim Brown.
There you go, my man.
1.5 out of 3. Let's go.
You're rolling. Look, you're at 50%. Look at you.
Let's go.
All right. This one, you got to be in the weeds on this one, man. If you get either of these, I'm going to be like so impressed.
All right.
2 Power 5 conference football players this past season that just completed, right? One of whom actually played on one of the college football playoff teams, were one-time Maryland lacrosse commitments. You don't have to name the players, but name the 2 schools that they represented.
Well, I got a 25% chance at the playoff team.
Yeah, I gave you that. I threw that one in there for you.
I'm going to guess. Well, I was trying to think of like location because lacrosse players are all Northeastern, but none of the. I'll say Michigan because that's the closest. I'll say Michigan.
Oh, close. All right.
Well, that's one, and
that's one. Yeah.
My other guess is North Carolina.
Okay. A guy named Ethan Burke, starting defensive end at the University of Texas, was a Maryland lacrosse recruit, and
I was between Michigan and Texas.
And if you had watched any of that playoff game, he was a terror. And God, you think about this guy playing midfield in college; he's a defensive end, like a pass rushing defensive end now.
Yeah,
at Texas. Second one, a guy named Bryson Shaw was actually a consensus top 5 lacrosse recruit. Started out his football career. He verbaled to Maryland to play lacrosse. Started out at Ohio State and then transferred to USC. So he was their starting. I think he was a strong safety this past year at USC. I would have actually maybe given you credit for Dante Trader. How do you count Dante Trader?
Well, the way you phrased it, that was the first thing that came into my head. but the way you phrased the question made me think you were talking about two other people.
Yeah,
So I
I
didn't
might
say
have given
that.
you credit for that.
I mean, I knew that. I just the way you phrased it,
Yeah.
it was not. Anyway,
I would have given you credit for it, man.
all right. Well,
Interesting. So Henry Hasselbeck,
related
I can't
to
remember if which Hasselbeck is his father.
one of the football quarterbacks.
Yeah, he verbally committed to play lacrosse at Maryland, and then committed to Michigan State to play quarterback in football. Apparently, just decommitted from Michigan State, so he's looking with their coaching change. He's looking, but that would have been another one. There's probably more. Coach Tillman's known for recruiting really good athletes, and then translating that.
Well, it would have been good if Elizabeth Hasselbeck came to the games because she's pretty.
Yeah,
Elizabeth Filarski from
from
Survivor fame.
Come on, man!
I
Survivor.
watched that season.
Survivor season 2.
Yep.
It was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know if she's on TV anymore.
No, she was on The View for a long
One
time.
of those. I don't know what The View or the
And
whatever.
then, I don't know. I haven't seen her in a while. Okay.
Question number 5.
Okay.
You got a 50-50 chance at this one. All
Okay.
right? True or false? Lacrosse has been played as a sanctioned Olympic sport. Has been played as a sanctioned Olympic sport.
For some reason, I feel like it's true, but then got removed. So I'm saying true.
You are correct.
It was, and then got taken away.
Yeah, 1904, 1908 in the Summer Olympics, and then switched to exhibition. I think they had 3 Olympics after kind of World War II and after, where it was an exhibition sport. But it will make a return in a new format. They call it sixes. It's 6-on-6. Making a return in the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles.
Nice. 2.5 out of 5.
You want a bonus? Do you want a bonus question?
Yeah, I do. I want the bonus.
Bonus question.
Yep.
I think you're going to get this one.
Okay.
Name the country that has officially named lacrosse as one of its national sports. Plural. One of its national sports. Which country?
Well, it can only be Australia?
Oh,
Canada.
Damn
it. It was only one of those two.
So hockey is their official winter sport. Lacrosse is their official summer sport. I'm going to give you credit for that, though. I'm giving you
said
credit.
it second.
It's
It's like if I get credits at half, which will put me at 3 out of 6, I'll take that.
There you go. 50%, man. Growth.
50%. Yeah. I thought you were going to ask me, like, what years did Maryland win their national titles? And I would have been like 1973, 1975, 2022, and 2018?
18. No, 17.
17?
Yeah.
Was I right? That was pretty close.
Oh, yeah.
I looked at the list briefly. Let me go double check on that.
Well, because the NCAA didn't recognize lacrosse as a sport until 73.
I know, 22 and 17, and then they won 73 and 75. I just looked before the show, so it's not like but I got 3 of those 4, and one of them was only a year off. Unfortunately, they won a bunch of the titles before 70, or they'd be listed amongst the leaders in all-time championships. They won like 8 of them.
Yeah. But, Hopkins claims all of theirs as well from back then. So,
and in college basketball, some people do that too, because there was a committee that went back and retroactively awarded national championships pre-tournament. Well, you can't do that because the teams have to know what the rules are of the season to get the championship. You can't retroactively do it. So anyway, I think North Carolina boasts an extra title from that or something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Alabama in football, when you had coaches poll, AP poll, and
football is different than the other sports because they didn't have a championship until 12 years ago, 12-ish?
Yeah.
No,
the BCS.
So,
the official championship is only 4 years old, 5 years old?
Yeah.
But then they had the BCS before that. Like, do you count that as a national championship? Mm.
Yeah. No, the 4-team playoffs more than 4 years old.
It
Isn't it?
can't be much more than 4 or 5.
I'm not going to look it up.
Yeah.
Somebody can, if somebody watches back, you can crush me on it. I don't know. Anyway. All right. There we go. We're going to figure out how to splice these 2 videos together and make it look like one cohesive thing. And when you guys are watching this, it'll be the week leading up to the season. So we're very excited about that. This is when we could get Eric to come on and do the interview with us. So we're very excited about that. I am going to come to a tailgate, at least one. I'm probably going to love it so much I'm going to keep coming back. I'm going to try. I'm looking at the schedule. I'm going to try and do that. And hopefully, look, whoever else come join me, we'll have a big
Absolutely.
we have to make sure you're going to be there. Do you go to all the games?
I do. This year I might miss one. I've got some travel for my job, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
One of them I got lucky. It's an away game, so I don't have to worry about that. But I might be missing one of their home games.
All right, cool. Well, awesome job as always, Wheels. And looking forward to the season and a rebound from last year's very painful season, very down season for Maryland. And let's hope you're right. There's another title coming.
I think so.
All right. Thank you guys very much. We will see you guys next time.